Okay, we're all loaded up and we're trying to get to the hardware store to get some sheetrock, 1x4s, plywood, all the above. It closes in an hour. We got 45 minutes to get there.
And Jim's fuel light just came on, so that's cute.
Story of our life.
A new place, a new home, for a while, let me feel alive. Nothing to hold me back, take my time, just enjoy the ride. A new man passing by, life is good, best I've ever felt. Get me up, somewhere new, somewhere I can find myself. I feel so alive.
Well, we made it on time. Just by the skin of our teeth.
Alright, so while we're waiting, how does it feel to have somebody else drive your truck?
It really feels weird. I've put, I don't know, 350,000 miles on this truck without another soul driving it. But you did good.
For the record, anybody wondering, Jim does not let anybody drive his truck. Anybody. I'm the only lucky soul.
Well, she's an old girl and I like to take care of her.
I don't know about y'all, but I have never seen sheetrock bend that far.
I found my way, I found my way. I was in the dark against it all, but made it through the day. Cause I found my way, I found my way. In bad times, I know I'll be okay. Cause I found my way.
Every change has a reason, baby, let it come to you. Every soul, every season lives outside of status quo. If we stop believing we're meant to be, expanding our abilities.
What you got cooking? Good looking.
What we have here for supper is a little pork avalan. We got some pork cooked down in some stewed tomatoes with some okra, onion, bell pepper. That's gonna be good over some rice. Man, that is good. You gotta be real careful when you cook something like this. You don't want to get any on your forehead because your tongue will beat your brains out. We hadn't done a cooking video in a long time. If y'all want to see something like this from scratch, y'all just kick down in the comments and let us know. And if y'all do want us to cook something, just be sure and put it in the comments what you want. And whatever the most asked for dish is what we'll cook.
So the other day whenever we went to go get some sheetrock, we got the 12-foot sheets. Bringing that in was a serious chore, and we actually ended up having to separate the sheets because they weigh so much. But the reason that we did select the 12-foot sheets was because we are gonna be hanging up the ceiling in our kitchen.
This is a really big room, and we've been wanting to get this done for a while, but we've tried to prioritize as much outside work as we could when we could. Well, we have rain for the next 2 days, so we've made all the preparations to try to get all this ceiling hung.
We're gonna use those 12-foot sheets because it's gonna give us a lot less seams, and using those 9-foot sheets, it really would cause a lot more work for us whenever it comes time to finish. Now, if we were gonna have somebody come in and finish, those 9-foot sheets would have been perfect, but since it's us thinking ahead, shockingly, and we're gonna help ourselves out in the future.
We're not sheetrock mudders and tapers and finishers. I don't know, there's probably even a term for that, and I don't know. So that just lets you know that we need to minimize that as much as possible.
People have always said, y'all need to hire somebody to do this, y'all need to hire somebody. We would absolutely love to, but I want y'all to think about this for a second. It is about $100 a sheet to have somebody finish. We have put up 90 sheets in this house and not even scratch the surface. That's without doing this ceiling in here. That's without doing a bunch of the ceilings in the house. So right there, we would easily probably end up spending $15,000, around $15,000 on just finishing. So we're gonna learn to do some really good finishing work.
We have done some mudding and taping in here so far, just learning. And another thing is that we're living in this house. We couldn't ask a professional crew to come in here and tape and float and sand this house down and try to keep it clean. You know, that wouldn't be fair to them. So that's another thing. We've done a really good job on what we've mudded and taped so far of keeping it really clean. You can't even hardly tell we've done anything in here as far as the dust and anything.
Don't want to mess them up?
Well, we start getting all these blocks and stuff in here. This is our spacer blocks that goes in between the laths for the ceiling, and we don't want to cut these up. Already cut them one time. One right here and one right here.
Like this?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And like this. Okay, so what's going on is this is the corner where our pantry's at. We're gonna cut these blocks to fit right up against there, like this.
Uh-huh.
So what we did was measure the angle that they need to be cut on that the front of our pantry runs on.
Yeah, we don't have too many angles in the house, so instead of trying to do the math and hope it falls out right, it's just a quick and easy way to make sure that it comes in pretty close.
And the good thing about doing that is we can use this as a template, and then we can cut, I guess it would probably end up being 2 or 3 of them that fall out right along the front of that pantry, and just go ahead and zip them right off.
Just zip them right off.
Zip them right off.
Okay, we haven't cut one of these yet. And we always come up with these, what we think is brilliant ideas. And we go through all this and we're at about 50%. Sometimes they work out like great, but sometimes not so much. But I'm hoping this time it'll come out pretty easy. It should be pretty straightforward, hopefully. And I say this all the time. Like, all of you out there that are carpenters that like know what you're doing, my hat's off to you, because little simple stuff like this, y'all can knock it out in a hurry.
Speaking of hats off, Jim sleeps in his hat, in case anybody else wants to comment about him wearing his hat inside.
Yeah, you'll very rarely catch me with that. If I'm sleeping, I don't have my hat on, that's about it. Showering. I don't have my hat on when I shower.
Only whenever it needs to be clean. The results are in.
We actually did something that turned out.
That doesn't even deserve to be called a hootis because it turned out so pretty.
You know, it's really cool whenever you actually do something and it turns out right. I love it.
I wish you could see the angle of the cluster that's going on right now of woodworking. I mean, it all makes sense, but it looks like a dang jigsaw puzzle up there.
Oh yeah. That's what, I mean, I don't know, this was a huge room and it's all dimensional lumber, so it's really the only way we could do it is do the change direction like we did. And it worked out, but my goodness, it's a maze.
So what we just got done doing was lathing for the first section of the sheetrock that we're gonna put up. The reason that we have to do all this lathing, did you hear that? I used your word, lathing. And the reason that we decided that we were gonna do this lathing was because our ceiling joists are on 2-foot centers, which is acceptable to put sheetrock on, but we wanted to put them on 16-inch centers, which allows for a lot more support, and that will make sure that we do not have any type of sagging in the future. So now what we're gonna do is go ahead and get this first row of sheetrock up. And the reason that we're gonna try and do a row at a time is because whenever we did our dining room, we got off a little bit. This way it'll prevent a lot of that skipping or missing the 1x4s.
Skipping and missing.
I know, shocker.
We don't skip and miss here.
Yes, we do.
We miss and skip.
Okay, yeah.
But serious note, first time we've ever done anything with 12-foot sheetrock. I'm sure it's going to be a bear, but hey, we've got it to do.
Okay. Sheetrock. Take one.
So you might have noticed whenever we put up the sheets in the dining room that the laths were running this way. That's because the ceiling joists are running the length of the room. We had to change direction on our ceiling joists in several directions because we wanted to run them as short a span as possible so they didn't end up with a sag over time. So we went from beam to beam rather than with the beams, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So these ceiling joists are tied into this beam, and these ceiling joists are tied in from the wall to the beam, and then from the beam to the beam. The reason that we have all these beams is because we wanted a free floating ceiling. We did not want any supports out in the middle of the floor. And we've got this thing pretty structurally sound. On top of having these beams in, we came up with this suspension brace, kind of an idea. So the ridge beam is bolted to the inside wall. From here, that is connected to that brace. This brace comes down as a suspension for this beam. So not only is the beam supporting the weight, there's actually a suspension that is tied in from that beam, goes to the ridge board, and acts as a counter lever. So if this beam wants to sag, it's going to try to pick this beam up off the floor, which this floor is attached to the house, which is attached to the wall, which is attached to the everything. So if this tries to go down, it's going to be trying to pick the whole house up, and that's not going to happen.
Hopefully.
But if that happens, we got way bigger problems with this beam sagging.
So putting this first sheet into place, we are gonna butt it up against the dining room sheetrock, and we're gonna have one seam that goes across there with the sheetrock that's already there, but that's no big deal, and we're just gonna continue on with this 12 foot. And we're up.
Only 2 dozen more to go. We'll be there. Well, I definitely think we picked to work inside on the right day. The weatherman definitely didn't miss it today. Well, we can't just put the sheetrock on the lift and roll it in place, jack it up and screw it in place, because we have a sink and a cabinet and we have water lines and drain lines, and so we're not going to disconnect all that. What we're going to do is we're going to put the drywall on the sheetrock lift, get it in place and lock it in as close as we can get it, and just try to manhandle it, pull it over there in place and get it set and screw it in. I said that fast, so let's see if it works that way. So what kind of lunch are you having there?
Okay, don't knock it till you try it. Get you a cheese stick and some Tony's. A little sprinkle, a little dibble dabble. So good.
You just say Tony's? Everybody from Louisiana's like, girl, that's Tony's. You gotta go further up north for some Tony's.
Tony's
Some Tony's Shenanigans.
and iced coffee. Real healthy.